Okay, I'm going to show you how to use RX7 in a unique situation where you get spill from one sound onto the mic that you choose to not have it on. So in the case of a drum kit, let's say you've got the snare drum and the hi-hat and the kick drum, you will have some spill between those three things, and often you want the snare drum to really cut through as cleanly as possible. So people end up using sample replace in order to control for things like hi-hat spill onto the snare drum mic, and it's an annoying problem. You can also get a little bit of spill from the kick drum onto the snare drum as well, but hi-hat is the primarily kind of really annoying thing. And since RX7's debleed came out, you can fix this completely really easily. So I'm just going to play you sort of a little snippet of this track. It's a multi-track. So we've got the kick drum, got the snare drum, got the hi-hat. So all you need to do is export those out so they're exactly the right length, the same length as each other. That means that they're time aligned within RX, and it really needs you to do that because if they're slightly out of alignment, then it is unable to do this process. So if you've recorded it at the same time in the first place, you'll be fine. You don't actually have to do anything. You can just do it directly to those files. So I've just opened them up within RX. So I've got the three different files here, and this is the snare drum file. So the bleed is not too bad, but it is there. And I'm just going to show you, if we compare it to the hi-hat track, how much you can take out of it. So if I go to the debleed module, so these are all the modules down the side, debleed is just one of them. We open it up on the snare top track, and this is the active track, and we then choose the source of the bleed problem, which in this case is the hi-hat, and we learn that profile, and it basically will analyze it from start to finish, working out all the what we think of as the hi-hat tone, so the particular frequencies. It'll analyze all those frequencies and see where they come, and then it will apply a reduction of those frequencies to the snare track. So it almost magically ends up reducing the hi-hat within the snare sound. So if it's happening even simultaneously, it can actually reduce it. So we can clean up a snare sound even more than a regular kind of noise gate would be able to do, because at the end of the day, all a noise gate can do is chop off the sound either side, but when it's open, you still got the same amount of bleed there that you always had. So if there's a simultaneous hit on the hi-hat as well as on the snare, then you will have that bleed problem, but not so within iZotope RX. It will enable you to remove the actual frequencies. So let's just have a quick listen to that. This is offline processing, so you have to basically put your cursor just in front of where you want to hear it and then hit preview. So it's closed down a bit, but if we up the effect, if we were to render that out, we can see on here what the actual spill situation is. So if we just like were to look at this little section here, let's just render it. Offline processing is necessary because it's so processor intensive. You can see all of a sudden that if we go flip between the initial state and the debleed, you can see how the background noise is much louder on the initial state. So we're effectively making it more dynamic. Now you can see in this section that we've also got some kick drum spill. So we could also reduce the kick drum on it. So let's just learn that profile. Let's just do this little bit. Pretty amazing. It does it without affecting the frequency too much, and that would then be much more useful in the mix. So I suppose as an engineer, with tools like this, you know that you have a little bit more leeway to not have the mics too close to the drums necessarily, and it won't cause you too much of a problem afterwards. You'll be able to sort of reduce the bleed back down even if you go for a slightly more ambient drum sound.